In the previous section, you learned about freehold estates, particularly the fee simple estate, which represents the highest and most complete form of ownership. Now we turn to another important type of freehold estate, the life estate. While a fee simple estate can last indefinitely, a life estate exists only for the lifetime of a specific person. It provides many of the same rights as ownership, but with a definite limit tied to human life rather than time or event. A life estate is a legal interest in real property that lasts only as long as a designated individual, known as the measuring life, is alive. The person who holds the life estate is called the life tenant, and during their lifetime, they have nearly the same rights as a fee simple owner. They can occupy, use, lease, or even mortgage the property, but their rights end at death. Once the life tenant dies, the property automatically transfers either back to the original owner or their heirs, or to another person named in the deed. To illustrate, imagine that I grant my stepsister Susie a life estate in my land. This means that Susie may live on and use the property as her own for the rest of her life. When she dies, however, the property does not go to her heirs. It reverts to me, the grantor, or to my heirs if I am no longer living. Susie cannot sell or will the property beyond her lifetime because her ownership interest ends upon her death. Life estates are often used for estate planning. For example, if a woman named Mary wants her husband to continue living in their home after her death, but ultimately wants the property to pass to her children, she can grant her husband a life estate. He can live in the home for life, but after his death, the home automatically transfers to Mary's heirs rather than his. This arrangement ensures that family property passes to the intended beneficiaries, while still providing care and security for surviving spouses or relatives. The defining characteristics of a life estate are: the life tenant enjoys full use and ownership rights during the life estate period. The estate is temporary. It ends with the death of the measuring life. There is always a second future ownership interest, known as either a reversionary or remainder interest. A life estate may be created voluntarily through a deed or will, or involuntarily through legal action. Remainder and reversionary interests. A remainder interest occurs when the grantor designates a third party to receive title to the property after the life estate ends. That third party is called the remainderman. For example, if Bill grants a life estate to Harry but specifies that the property will pass to Susan upon Harry's death, Susan is the remainderman. She holds a future ownership right that becomes possessory only when Harry dies. A reversionary interest, on the other hand, exists when the grantor does not name a remainderman. Instead, the property automatically returns, or reverts, to the grantor or their heirs when the life tenant dies. For instance, if Bill grants Harry a life estate without naming anyone else, the property reverts to Bill or Bill's heirs upon Harry's death. To better understand, imagine that Bill grants Harry a life estate for Harry's lifetime. During his life, Harry may occupy the property, lease it, or even take out a loan secured by it. However, he cannot sell it permanently or leave it to someone in a will. When Harry dies, the property returns to Bill, the grantor, or to Bill's heirs. In this situation, Bill has a reversionary interest, while Harry's interest ends with his life. It's important to note that while the life tenant enjoys many ownership rights, they also bear certain responsibilities. The life tenant must maintain the property, pay property taxes, and prevent what is called waste, any action that damages or reduces the value of the property for the future owner. Failing to maintain the property, neglecting taxes, or allowing deterioration can lead to legal action by those who hold the future interest. Types of life estates. Life estates fall into two general categories: conventional, ordinary, and legal, statutory life estates. A conventional life estate is created by the grantor's voluntary act, either through a deed or a will, and can specify one or more future interests. During the lifetime of the life tenant, they may use and benefit from the property but cannot impair its value. When the life estate ends, ownership passes according to the terms established by the grantor, either by reversion or remainder. There are two forms of conventional life estates: ordinary life estate and per autre vie, French for another's life. An ordinary life estate lasts for the lifetime of the person who holds it. For example, John conveys property to Mary for life. Mary becomes the life tenant, and upon her death, the property returns to John or his heirs, unless a remainder man has been named. If John names Peter as the remainder man, then Peter receives ownership when Mary dies. A per autre vie life estate is based on the life of someone other than the life tenant. For instance, Yvonne grants Ryan a life estate that lasts for as long as her husband Steve is alive. When Steve dies, Ryan's interest ends, and the property transfers either back to Yvonne or to another party she has designated. In another example, Joe grants property to Mike for the life of Bob. This means that Mike may enjoy the property only as long as Bob is living. Once Bob dies, the estate ends, and the property automatically reverts to Joe. Responsibilities and limitations of the life tenant. While life tenants have the right to occupy and benefit from the property, they must not commit waste. Waste refers to any action that damages or devalues the property. This includes neglecting maintenance, failing to pay taxes, or making major changes that harm the property's future usability. The life tenant cannot sell or transfer greater rights than they hold. If a life tenant sells the property, the buyer's ownership also ends when the life tenant dies. Because of this limitation, life estates are often valued lower than fee simple estates. Review summary. A life estate is a freehold estate that lasts for the lifetime of a specific person. The holder of the estate, called the life tenant, enjoys nearly full ownership rights but cannot pass those rights to heirs. When the life tenant dies, the estate terminates and ownership passes either back to the original owner, reversion, or to a third party, remainder. Life estates are commonly used for estate planning to control property transfer after death, while allowing someone else to enjoy the property during their lifetime. Conventional life estates can be created for the life of the tenant, ordinary, or for the life of another person, per autre vie. The life tenant must preserve the property's value and cannot commit waste. Discussion. Why might someone create a life estate instead of transferring property in fee simple? Answer. To ensure that the property can be used by a loved one during their lifetime while still guaranteeing that it passes to specific heirs after their death. What happens to a life estate when the life tenant dies? Answer. The estate terminates automatically, and ownership either reverts to the grantor or passes to a remainder man if one has been named. What is the difference between a remainder and a reversionary interest? Answer. A remainder interest is held by a third party designated to receive the property after the life tenant's death, while a reversionary interest means the property returns to the grantor or their heirs. Why can't a life tenant will or sell the property beyond their lifetime? Answer. Because their rights are limited to their own lifetime, and the property automatically transfers to another party upon their death. Closing remarks. Life estates bridge the gap between full ownership and temporary use. They provide flexibility in estate planning, allowing individuals to care for loved ones while maintaining control over a property's ultimate destination. By understanding the structure of life estates, future remainder men, and the obligations of life tenants, real estate professionals can better guide clients through transactions and legal arrangements that involve these unique forms of ownership.